Hi, I'm Gemma, and this is the first time in 5 years that I've decided to start videoing. I'm very uncomfortable doing this, as you probably can see, but that I have had MS for 5 years now, and a lot has happened, and I have a lot of knowledge that I think would be very useful for people living with an autoimmune disease or, who have MS like I do. And so what I want this video to be about is practical daily tips of living with disease. And there are things that I know I would have really appreciated understanding at the beginning of my disease. And a lot has happened in the last 5 years, and it has not been an easy road. But there are lots of things that I'm, really grateful for having learned. I wish that I didn't have to go through this in order to learn the things I have. But regardless, I'm here, and I guess that's probably how I imagine most people are thinking too. That they, just are accepting of what is. Wishing things were different and doing everything that you can to try and change it. But, regardless of how things are in reality, there are always going to be things that really do help you live your best life that you can with the limitations that you have. And I think the first thing that I want to talk about is just having a routine and how important that is, and especially for me, that has been super important. So starting off with, maybe you're a morning person, maybe you're an evening person. Either way, I think it helps you formulate a plan for your day before you commence it. And I do understand, especially with MS, a lot of people, not myself included, but many people do suffer with fatigue. So a lot of their plans that they do have to be able to be changed, in order to accommodate that fatigue. And in fact, a lot of my friends personally do suffer from that. And in many ways, I kind of think fatigue is the hardest one to deal with. In my case, I have a lot of mobility issues, and I find it very difficult to balance, various things like that. So I think for me, it is helpful to have a kind of structure to my day. And so the structure will include, for me personally, setting my alarm in the morning, and I get out of bed and I do a stretch. It's just a very simple stretch routine. And maybe this is something that I can, put a link in of stretches that I think would be helpful to you. And so, yes, I will do that. I'll put that in the description below of stretches that you can do just to help kind of waken up your body and so on. And I think also it's really helpful to have a plan of what you want to eat. And then, of course, that leads on to the next question. Well, what do you eat? And everyone has their own opinions about, what works and what doesn't work. And I think for me, my main thinking is just about eating healthily. Obviously, again, that means different things to different people, but having read around the research, I think the main thing is, more than anything else, is trying to cut out ultra-processed foods. There's so much buzz at the moment about processed foods. And I completely can understand why, because we're basically poisoning ourselves with additives and so on to make the companies that produce these items more profitable. So it's better if you can just make things from yourself using fresh ingredients. And one thing that really has made a huge difference to me, and of course, bearing in mind this is my first video, I'm not going to be sponsored by anybody, but any recipe box personally, I use Gusto. And this is great because it means that once a week I can sit down and I can decide which meals I want to eat. And because I have MS, I know that cutting out dairy and cutting out meat where there is high levels of saturated fat are best for me personally. So that is the kind of thing that I eat. So I'll eat lots of fish dishes, lots of like lentils, pulses and that kind of thing. And it's really fun. Like, it's also very little waste, which is something that I appreciate not doing. Like, I appreciate not wasting food. And actually, because of that, I think that it's quite cost effective. Like, I don't think that I waste a lot of food. Therefore, I'm saving money from the food that would ordinarily be wasted. So that's a really positive thing. And then, the biggest thing for me, and again, I was really lucky with this, was that I managed to A, have the money to do this, but B, find a neurophysio to do reformer Pilates with. And that's been a huge help. Just to have someone there who knows what they're doing, obviously understands your disorder, or at least, understand it to some extent. It's not, you're not there to be like everyone else and to, exercise. You're there to actually rehabilitate. And that is a very different thing. So a lot of the work that I personally do is with, core strengthening activities, and also gluteal, all the things basically that help you walk better and have better control over your mobility. So for me, that knowing that she is qualified in doing this gives me a lot of confidence to know that the exercises that she's making me do are the ones that are going to help me the most in terms of rehabilitation. So so that is something that I would strongly recommend. So with food, exercise, and having a routine, and I do think that they are the three things that make the biggest difference. And I think to start with, that is a good thing, a good place to start with those three things. But I also do think that you should be kind to yourself. And this is a very obvious thing to say, but you are going to have days where you're not going to be able to feel like you're being very productive. And that's okay. Like, I'm sure anyone that's listening to this, either you yourself have an autoimmune disease or someone that does, it's such a tough thing to deal with. Like, your life is not working out how you ever imagined it would, and you've got all these obstacles in your way that you never imagined you'd have. I personally am like a half glass full kind of person, and I've accepted that this is fate that has befallen me. And I want to do everything I can in my power to make my life as easy as possible. Because I think for me, that is the main thing, is that I just don't want to rely on other people to help me. And so I want to do as much as I can myself to allow my independence to remain. So so I think that's all there is for this. I want to talk, and I'm going to speak about this in my next video, about when my hair is short and what I've done. Obviously, you may have already, if you have MS, you may already guess that I have had HSCT. So that is something that I want to talk about in the next video that I do. But I really hope this has been helpful. And any suggestions you have would be much appreciated. All right, thank you.